The first thing Ethan heard wasn't a heartbeat monitor. It was a nurse's voice, low, just outside the curtain. She said, "Don't bother calling unless he's dead." Ethan's eyes snapped open. His throat was raw, his chest wrapped tight. But that sentence cut through the anesthesia fog sharper than any pain. "Wait!" His voice cracked. "Say that again." The nurse froze, clearly not expecting him to be conscious. She stepped back, flustered. "Mr. Bennett, you should rest." "Who said that?" He pushed himself up despite the pain screaming through his ribs. "Who said don't call unless I'm dead?" A doctor entered, cutting off the nurse before she could answer. Dr. Patel, calm, professional, the kind of calm that meant bad news. "Mr. Bennett, you went into cardiac distress during the appendectomy. We needed emergency consent for a secondary procedure. We called your emergency contact, your wife. And," Dr. Patel hesitated, "she told our coordinator, and I'm quoting her directly because the coordinator wrote it down for the file, 'Don't bother calling unless he's dead.'" Then she hung up. The room went silent except for the beep of the monitor. Ethan reached for his phone on the tray table, hand shaking. Not from weakness, from something colder. He dialed Vanessa. She picked up on the fourth ring. Background noise. A restaurant. Laughter. Glasses clinking. "Ethan, is everything okay?" "I almost died on a table, Vanessa. They called you. You told them not to bother." A pause. Too short to be shocked. Too long to be innocent. "I was in the middle of something important, Ethan. I figured if it was actually serious, they'd call again. It was surgery. Emergency surgery. And you're fine, aren't you? God, you're so dramatic sometimes." The clink of a glass again. "Look, I have to go. We'll talk when you're home." The line went dead. Ethan stared at the phone. 3 years of small dismissals flashed through his mind. Missed calls, canceled visits, the way she flinched whenever he touched her lately. He'd told himself it was stressful, work, a rough patch. This wasn't a rough patch. This was a woman who'd calculated in the middle of his surgery that he wasn't worth the interruption. 2 days passed. Ethan barely spoke, barely ate. Vanessa visited once for 11 minutes, checking her phone the entire time. On the third morning, a hospital clerk he didn't recognize stepped into his room, holding a wrapped box in both hands like it was something fragile. "Mr. Bennett, I'm Dana from billing." She set the box carefully on his tray table. "I need to tell you something strange happened." "What kind of strange?" "Your entire hospital bill, surgery, ICU, everything. It's been paid in full. By a stranger. Walked in yesterday, cash and wire transfer, wouldn't give a last name." Ethan sat up slowly. "Who does that?" Dana glanced at the box, then back at him, her voice dropping. "He left this for you. And he made me promise to tell you something exactly the way he said it." Ethan's hand hovered over the wrapping paper. "Tell me what?" Dana took a breath. "He said, 'This changes everything.'" Ethan tore the wrapping paper before Dana could say anything else. Inside, a small wooden box, old, the kind with a brass clasp worn smooth from age. He opened it. A photograph, black and white, edges yellowed. His father, younger than Ethan had ever seen him, standing beside a woman who was definitely not his mother. She was holding a baby. Underneath the photo, a folded note, 4 words, handwritten. "Ask her about 1987, signed with a single letter. M. Ethan's chest tightened, and it had nothing to do with the surgery. "Dana." His voice was steady, controlled, the way it got right before it wasn't. "Did he leave anything else? A name, a number?" She pulled a slip of paper from her pocket, hesitant. "He said only give you this if you asked." A phone number, nothing more. Ethan didn't wait. He dialed right there, Dana still standing at the foot of the bed, unsure if she should leave. 2 rings. A man's voice answered, calm, measured, like he'd rehearsed this moment for years. "You got the box." "Who is this?" "My name is Marcus, Marcus Reyes." A pause. "I'm your brother, Ethan. Half-brother, same father." Ethan let out a short, humorless laugh. "I don't have a brother." "You do. You just didn't know it. Your father had another family before yours, before he married your mother. I'm what he left behind." "This is insane. I don't know you. I don't know what you want. I don't want anything from you." Marcus's voice sharpened, just slightly. I paid your hospital bill because I've been watching your life fall apart for months and nobody else was going to catch you. Ask your mother about 1987, then call me back." The line clicked dead. Ethan sat there, phone still pressed to his ear, box open in his lap. Dana shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Bennett, are you—" The door swung open. Vanessa walked in like she owned the room, sunglasses pushed up into her hair, coffee cup in hand, acting like the last 4 days hadn't happened. "Babe, you look so much better." She leaned down for a kiss he didn't return. "Where were you?" Ethan said flatly. "The night I was in surgery? I told you, handling something." She set her coffee down, eyes flicking to the open box on the tray. "What is that?" "A gift from a stranger, apparently." Ethan watched her face carefully. "He's my brother." Something flickered across Vanessa's expression. Too fast to name, but real. Gone just as quick. "That's ridiculous. You're an only child." She reached for the box like she wanted to close it, hide it. "You should be resting, not chasing conspiracy theories from random hospital gifts." "It's not a theory if there's a photograph, Vanessa." She pulled her hand back, forced a laugh. "Fine. Believe whatever weird story some stranger tells you. I'm going to get you actual food since apparently that's still my job." She grabbed her purse off the chair to leave. As she swung it over her shoulder, a folded paper slipped out onto the floor. Ethan reached down before she could stop him. A hotel receipt, presidential suite, the Meridian Grand Hotel, dated the exact night of his surgery, signed to a name that wasn't his. Todd Whitfield. Vanessa's face drained of color the second she saw what was in his hand. "Give me that." She lunged, but Ethan pulled it back, still weak but faster than she expected. "Presidential suite, the night I almost died." His voice was ice. "Who's Todd Whitfield?" "It's not what it looks like. It's a hotel receipt with another man's name on it, dated the exact night you told a hospital not to bother calling you." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Explain it to me like I'm stupid, Vanessa, because right now I feel stupid." Dana, still standing near the door, quietly stepped out, sensing this wasn't hers to witness. Vanessa dropped into the chair beside the bed, purse still clutched to her chest like a shield. "Todd's a business associate. We were finalizing a property deal. It ran late, so we got a room instead of driving back at 2 a.m. That's it. A property deal in a presidential suite, while your husband was dying on a table 20 minutes away. I didn't know it was that serious. You told them not to call unless it was." Silence. Vanessa looked away first. "I want a divorce lawyer's name by tomorrow," Ethan said quietly. "And I want the truth, not the version you think I'll accept." "Ethan, get out." She left without another word, purse still clutched tight, heels sharp against the tile. That evening, Ethan checked himself out early, against doctor's advice, and drove straight to his mother's house. Grace Bennett opened the door, already looking like she knew why he'd come. He held up the photograph. "Tell me about 1987. Grace's hand went to the doorframe, steadying herself. "Where did you get that?" "A man named Marcus. Says he's my brother. Says Dad had another life before us." Ethan stepped inside without being invited. "Is it true?" Grace shut the door slowly. Her voice, when it came, was smaller than he'd ever heard it. "Your father made mistakes before we were married. I found out about the child years later. I paid to keep it quiet. For our family. For you. I thought it was over." "You knew I had a brother, and you never told me?" "I wanted to protect you. You wanted to protect yourself." Ethan's voice cracked, not from anger, but exhaustion. 2 betrayals in 1 week. That was more than any man should carry. "Leave the past alone, Mom. Really? While my wife is out signing hotel receipts with another man's name?" Grace's eyes widened. "What?" Before she could say more, Ethan's phone buzzed. Marcus. He stepped onto the porch to answer. "You talked to her," Marcus said. It wasn't a question. She confirmed it. "You're real." "I'm real. And Ethan, I need you to listen carefully, because I haven't just been sitting on this story for fun. I've been watching your wife for 3 months. Ethan went still. "Watching her how?" "I do forensic accounting for a living. A friend flagged unusual activity on a business account with your name on it. I started digging before I ever planned to contact you. I just didn't expect you'd end up in a hospital bed before I finished." "What kind of unusual activity?" Marcus's voice dropped, grave. "Meet me tomorrow. Bring nothing. No phone near her. No warning. What I have to show you is bigger than an affair, Ethan. Much bigger. Ethan met Marcus at a quiet diner on the edge of town, far from anywhere Vanessa or her circle would recognize him. Up close, the resemblance was undeniable. Same jawline, same eyes. Whatever doubt Ethan had left disappeared in an instant. You look just like him, Ethan said, sliding into the booth. Dad, I mean. So I've been told. Marcus slid a thick folder across the table. I wish this were a reunion, Ethan. It's not. Ethan opened it. Bank statements, wire transfers, business account records, his business account, the engineering firm he'd built from nothing over 12 years. Look at the dates, Marcus said. 6 transfers over 4 months, each one under the reporting threshold so they wouldn't trigger automatic flags, each one authorized with your signature. I never signed these. I know. I had a document examiner compare them to verified samples. They're forged. Good forgeries, but forged. Marcus tapped one page. Every transfer routes to a shell account linked to Todd Whitfield's development company. Ethan's hands went cold. How much? Just under $400,000. And Ethan, the surgery, the delay in calling anyone. I don't think that was carelessness. I think she needed time. A distraction. A window where you couldn't check your accounts, couldn't ask questions, couldn't stop what was already moving. The diner noise faded into background static. Ethan stared at his own forged signature, at the version of his life he'd been too trusting to see. Why are you doing this? Ethan asked quietly. You don't know me. You could have stayed hidden. Marcus leaned back. Because I spent 30 years being the secret nobody claimed. I wasn't going to watch you get destroyed by people who were supposed to love you and say nothing. Family doesn't do that to family, even family that just met. Ethan's phone buzzed. His mother. He stepped away to answer. Jeez. Grace's voice was raw, like she'd been crying for hours. I need to tell you everything, she said. Not the version I gave you last night. The truth. She told him. His father's affair. The birth. The money paid to Marcus's mother to disappear from their lives. The guilt she'd swallowed for 3 decades because admitting it meant admitting her own silence had cost her son a brother. I'm sorry, Ethan. I should have told you years ago. We'll talk about that later, Mom. His voice was tired, not cruel. Right now, I have a bigger fire to put out. He returned to the booth. Marcus was watching him carefully. There's more, Marcus said. I made a call this morning to a contact inside Whitfield's firm. Vanessa and Todd aren't just moving money quietly anymore. They're accelerating. Liquidation paperwork on 2 of your joint assets is already filed. If it goes through, they're planning to be gone, completely restructured, funds offshore, within the week. Ethan sat back, jaw tight. Then we don't have a week, he said. We have days. Ethan didn't go home to confront Vanessa. He went home to act like nothing had changed. And that was harder than any conversation could have been. You checked yourself out early, Vanessa said when he walked in, feigning concern. You should have called me. Didn't want to bother you. He kept his voice light, tired. Figured you were busy. Something in her eased. She believed the fight was over, that grief and painkillers had softened him. Exactly what he wanted her to believe. That night, Ethan called Marcus from the garage, door shut, voice low. I need everything documented before she moves another dollar. Bank records, forged signatures, the hotel receipt, all of it. Organized, dated, ready for a lawyer and the fraud unit. Already started, Marcus said. Dana's helping too. She pulled hospital records confirming the exact time Vanessa refused contact. It lines up with a wire transfer initiated 40 minutes later. She used my surgery as cover. Ethan's voice was flat, disbelieving even as he said it. I know. We'll prove it. The next 2 days were a performance. Ethan played the wounded, oblivious husband, apologizing for overreacting about the receipt, letting Vanessa believe her charm had worked. Over dinner, she grew careless, confident. You know, she said, swirling her wine, I always said you worry too much about the business. Numbers, accounts. You should relax more. Trust me more. I do trust you, Ethan said evenly, watching her smile widen. That's the problem, isn't it? She didn't catch the edge in it, too busy congratulating herself. Meanwhile, Todd was growing nervous. Marcus's contact reported tension between the two. Todd pushing to move faster, worried Ethan's brother digging around meant exposure was close. Vanessa kept telling him to wait, that Ethan suspected nothing. Ethan used the calm to move fast. He met privately with a lawyer, Rachel Kim, laying out everything Marcus had gathered. Rachel moved immediately to freeze the business accounts pending a fraud investigation, quiet enough that no alert would reach Vanessa or Todd before it was locked down. Once this freezes, Rachel warned, they'll know. There's no undoing that visibility. Then we make sure it freezes exactly when they try to move the big transfer, not before. The plan was simple. Let them believe the window was still open until the very last second. Everything held together until the night before the scheduled transfer, when Ethan came home to find his car door slightly ajar. Nothing stolen, nothing broken, except the folder Marcus had left in the glove box. The one with copies of every forged signature and wire transfer was gone. Vanessa was standing in the kitchen when he walked in, holding the folder in one hand, face pale, eyes sharp with something between fear and fury. "You've been building a case against me," she said quietly. "This whole week. The apologies, the dinners, it was all fake." Ethan set his keys down slowly, meeting her eyes without flinching. "Funny," he said. "That's exactly what I was about to say to you." Vanessa's hand tightened around the folder. "You don't understand what you're doing, Ethan. You pull this thread, everything unravels. For both of us." "Good," Ethan said. "I want it to unravel." She threw the folder onto the counter. "Todd and I have people, lawyers, resources you can't touch. I already have a lawyer, and a fraud unit, and a brother whose forensic work is airtight." Ethan's voice never rose. That was what unsettled her most. He wasn't shouting. He was finished being someone she could rattle. "The accounts froze an hour ago, Vanessa. Whatever you're planning to move tonight, it's not moving." Her face went white. She grabbed her phone, dialing Todd with shaking hands. It rang twice before going to voicemail. "He's not answering," she whispered. "He won't. Rachel's team flagged the fraud unit 2 hours ago. They're at his office right now." Vanessa's composure cracked completely. "You planned this, all of it, the dinners, the apologies." "I learned from the best," Ethan said quietly. "You taught me exactly how convincing a lie could look." Her phone buzzed. A news alert, local business channel. Breaking. Real estate developer Todd Whitfield detained amid fraud investigation. Vanessa's knees nearly buckled. She turned on Ethan, fury replacing fear. "You have no idea what you just destroyed. Everything I built." "You mean everything you stole?" Ethan stepped closer, calm and immovable. $400,000, forged signatures, a hospital bed you walked away from because it was inconvenient. That's not something you built, Vanessa. That's something you took. "I did it because you were never enough," she screamed, the mask fully gone now. "Not enough ambition, not enough money, not enough—" "Then you should be relieved," Ethan cut in, voice steady even as something inside him finally, quietly broke free. "Because you just lost everything trying to prove that. And I'm about to build a life you'll never get anywhere near." She had nothing left to throw at him. No lie left to spin. 2 officers arrived 20 minutes later, executing a warrant tied to the fraud case. Vanessa was taken in for questioning that night. Formal charges followed within the week, alongside Todd's. 6 months later, Ethan's firm had a new name on the door, Bennett and Reyes Engineering. Marcus ran the financial side now, sharp instincts turning what could have been ruined into something sturdier than before. Grace visited every Sunday, no longer carrying the weight of a 30-year secret. Dana, who'd walked into Ethan's hospital room as a stranger, had become a steady friend, the kind who checks in without needing a reason. One evening, closing up the office, Marcus tossed him a set of keys. "New building's official. Both our names on the lease this time." Ethan looked at the keys, then at the brother he never knew he had. The one person out of everyone Ethan trusted who turned out to have nothing to hide. "Took losing everything," Ethan said, "to finally gain something real." Marcus clapped a hand on his shoulder. "Then I'd say it was worth it." They locked the door behind them and walked out into a life neither of them saw coming.